Welcome back to the Market Chronicles, everyone. Can you believe it? We are celebrating our 10th episode already.
Wow, time flies when you're having fun analyzing the markets.
It really does. And speaking of fun, for those of you joining us for the first time on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and join us each week.
That's right, we unpack all the most important information affecting your money and the markets.
Today, we're diving into some really interesting analysis from Cathie Wood. She says a rolling recession has been going on since 2022, and get this.
She thinks we're entering the final phase.
Now, you might be thinking a recession is a recession, right?
Yeah, but Cathie's perspective on this is, well, it's pretty unique. We're going to unpack what it all means for you, though.
One of the most, I think, attention-grabbing predictions from Cathie is a potential 3% drop in real GDP growth.
For the first quarter of 2025.
But she's also forecasting this, surge in productivity.
Driven by all this new technology.
Yeah, and that's where things get interesting.
For sure.
So, first things first. What does Cathie even mean by a rolling recession?
Well, it's not your typical, across-the-board economic downturn.
Okay, so not everything is tanking all at once.
Right. She's saying that different parts of the economy have been slowing down at different times because of, the Fed's interest rate hikes.
Which started back in 2022.
Exactly.
But the key takeaway here is that she thinks we are nearing the end of this rolling recession.
Some sectors are still struggling, definitely.
But others are already showing signs of recovery.
It's an interesting time, that's for sure. And then you add in this proposed $4.5 trillion tax cut.
It's a huge number, especially on top of the existing, what was it?
$1.9 trillion from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Right. The House already passed a version of the new legislation, too.
Cathie thinks it's unlikely to change much in the Senate during reconciliation.
And what's really interesting here is how the proposed tax cuts would be retroactive.
To January 20th, 2025.
It's like they're trying to encourage immediate spending, right?
Yeah, like a jumpstart.
I read that it's based on something from the Reagan era.
Oh, yeah, the phased-in tax cuts.
Those actually made the recession last longer, didn't they?
They did. People held off on spending, waiting for the lower rates to kick in.
So this time, they're trying to incentivize spending right now.
To, boost the economy.
There's a political aspect of this too, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. President Trump is appealing to the lower and middle class.
With those promises of no taxes on tips, Social Security, overtime pay.
It makes it harder for critics to say the cuts just help the wealthy.
Smart. But even with this potential boost from the tax cuts, there are still some red flags, right?
Definitely, especially with the jobs picture.
The February employment report was all over the place.
The weather messed everything up, so it's hard to say what's really going on.
Cathie is worried about layoffs, though. She mentioned that Challenger survey.
Oh, yeah, the one with the 172,000 layoffs in February alone.
That's a lot. More than triple the usual amount, right?
Right. Yeah, the historical average is more like 50 to 60,000 per month.
It's still less than during the financial crisis, though.
And the tech bust in the early 2000s.
But still, the trend is concerning, right?
Definitely. And then you add in the shift in government spending.
From federal to state.
Yeah. That could mean job losses in the public sector.
It's a lot of uncertainty. And we can't forget about AI.
Right. It's already replacing jobs in certain sectors, like coding.
Yeah.
It all adds up to a lot of anxiety about job security.
But amidst all this, Cathie Wood is still optimistic about the future.
Because of this productivity boom she keeps talking about.
Exactly.
And that's what we'll explore further in the next part of our deep dive. We'll unpack what's driving this optimism and what it could mean for investors and workers like you. So we just talked about the rolling recession, the possible dip in GDP growth, and all the anxieties around employment. But now, let's get to the good stuff.
The optimism.
Exactly. What's fueling Cathie Wood's optimism is this, anticipated productivity boom.
It all boils down to technology, right?
Yeah, specifically, the rapid advancements in artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation.
Cathie believes these are going to unleash a wave of efficiency and productivity gains across the board.
It's kind of like when electricity and the internet were introduced,
Disruption at first, but then revolution.
Exactly. They changed how we work and live, led to huge economic growth.
It's about, looking past those short-term market jitters.
And focusing on the long game.
The market might freak out a little now, but eventually it'll reward those businesses and sectors driving this whole productivity thing.
What's really cool is that this productivity boom isn't just about economic growth.
There's more.
Cathie argues that increased productivity can also fight inflation.
How so?
When businesses can make more stuff with the same resources, or even fewer resources.
It takes pressure off prices.
Exactly.
So increased productivity is like a double whammy. Fuels growth, A&D keeps inflation down.
Win-win.
Okay, but let's get down to brass tacks here. Which sectors are leading this productivity revolution?
She's really bullish on AI, robotics, biotech, and renewable energy. That's where all the innovation is happening.
She thinks they have the potential to totally transform industries.
Lead to some serious productivity gains.
Take AI, for example. Cathie's highlighting how it can automate tasks that humans used to do.
Which frees up workers for more creative stuff.
Not only does that boost productivity,
It could lead to completely new types of jobs, ones we can't even imagine yet.
like the internet, right? No one could have predicted social media managers or app developers 20 years ago.
Those jobs didn't exist.
It's pretty wild to think about.
It is.
But let's be real. This shift is going to come with some bumps in the road.
Definitely. Job displacement is a real concern.
People are going to need to learn new skills to stay relevant.
Education and retraining are going to be so important.
We got to equip workers with the tools they need to thrive in this new economy. Investing in STEM education, vocational training, lifelong learning, all that good stuff.
The only thing that's constant is change.
We got to embrace that, right?
For sure. And focus on prepping ourselves for this new world.
And not just skills training either.
Right. It's about developing a mindset, adaptability, creativity, always learning.
The jobs of the future are going to need people who are okay with things being a little uncertain, who can solve tough problems and are always trying to learn more.
It's not just about one specific job anymore. It's about having that growth mindset so you can change as the world changes.
But going back to Cathie Wood,
Yeah.
what makes her so confident that all these productivity gains are going to outweigh the challenges, that we're headed for a brighter future?
Well, she's looking at a few things like the crazy pace of technological advancement, the money being poured into these new technologies, and the fact that businesses everywhere are starting to use them. She sees it all coming together, building momentum towards a more productive and innovative economy.
Sounds like she's betting on human ingenuity, our ability to use technology for good,
Exactly. She knows there are challenges.
but believes that, in the long run, our ability to innovate will win out.
It's a perspective worth thinking about. We're in a time of unprecedented change with technology. It can be scary, sure.
But it's also packed with opportunity for growth, for prosperity, for progress.
But we got to remember, technology is a tool. How we use that tool, the choices we make, what we value, that's what's going to determine if all this leads to a better future or not.
It really makes you think,
Yeah.
about how all of this could change our lives and the whole economic landscape.
Absolutely.
But what does it actually mean for us? For me, for you, for anyone listening?
Right. How might these trends affect our own investments, our career choices, all that?
Especially in the coming years.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. If Cathie Wood is right.
We could be on the edge of, a huge period of growth and change.
All driven by technology and the surge in productivity.
So if you're thinking about investing, maybe it means, paying more attention to those sectors that Cathie's so optimistic about.
The AI, robotics, biotech, and renewable energy stuff.
Those are the areas that are, set to see the most growth.
It's not just about picking individual companies, though. It's more about understanding those big picture trends.
And then positioning yourself to, ride the wave.
Exactly.
And career-wise.
Yeah.
Well, lifelong learning isn't just a nice thing to do anymore, is it?
It's essential.
The jobs of the future are going to need people who can adapt, be creative, and are willing to always be learning.
We got to be proactive, seeking out opportunities to build those in-demand skills.
Whether it's coding, data analysis, design thinking, even just becoming a better communicator.
Investing in yourself, your education. That's how you stay ahead of the game.
It's like we need to future-proof ourselves by always learning new skills, improving our existing ones.
I like that. Future-proof.
And that's where Cathie Wood's optimism really hits home for me. She's not just saying, hey, there's going to be a tech revolution.
He's got faith in us.
In our ability to adapt and, even thrive when things change.
Yeah. It's a good reminder. We can't predict the future perfectly, but we can get ourselves ready for it, for whatever it brings.
We've gone over a lot today. The rolling recession, the potential for this productivity boom, what it all means for the future. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. We can look at all the data, make predictions, but the future really depends on what WDE do.
The choices we make today, the things we invest in, the skills we develop, even our mindset, it all adds up.
It's not something that just happens to us. we build the future together. So let's keep talking about it. Let's consider different perspectives. And let's work together to build a future that's good for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Cathie Wood's analysis. It's been real.
Catch you next time.